Overcoming analysis paralysis, the simple first step technique to stop overthinking.
Do you know the feeling? The quiet hum of a life waiting to be lived, just out of reach. It's not a dramatic, thunderous feeling. It's a subtle ache. The ache of the unstarted project, the unsent email, the unspoken truth. It's the feeling of standing at the edge of a great, frozen river. On the other side, you can see it. The warmth, the future you desire, the person you know you could be. But you are here, on this side, standing perfectly still. You spend your days examining the ice, tapping it with your foot, calculating its thickness, researching the best way to cross. And as the sun sets, you find you haven't moved an inch. This stillness, this state of being perpetually on the verge of action, is not rest. It is a form of exhaustion we call analysis paralysis. It's the illusion that if we just think a little longer, prepare a little more, we can find a path with no risk, a choice with no potential for regret. But the truth, the hard truth that brings you here today, is that this endless preparation is a prison disguised as a fortress. The safety you're building on the riverbank is keeping you from the life that awaits on the other side. Your mind, in this state, is a landscape of what-ifs. What if the ice cracks? What if I fall? What if I cross? And the other side isn't what I imagined. These are not just thoughts. They are echoes in a vast, cold chamber. They are the ghosts of past failures and the imagined specters of future ones. This mental loop feels productive. It feels like due diligence. But it is a trap. It is the sophisticated self-sabotage of a mind that fears failure more than it desires growth. It is the quiet tragedy of the unlived life, a concept the great psychologist Carl Jung spoke of with such profound weight. He warned that the most powerful influence on a person can be the unfulfilled dreams, the potentials never realized. You are standing on the bank of your own frozen river, not just burdened by your own fears, but perhaps by the unlived lives of those who came before you. Their whispers of caution, now the roaring wind, in your own ears. You are paralyzed not just by what could go wrong, but by the sheer, overwhelming weight of possibility. For the next 25 minutes, we will embark on a journey together. We are not going to magically melt this river. We are not going to pretend the risks aren't real. Instead, we are going to learn how to take the first step onto the ice. This is not a video to be passively watched while scrolling through your phone. This is a workshop. This is an active exploration of the inner landscape that holds you captive. I invite you to commit to this time, to this process. If you are truly ready to confront the stillness and begin the crossing, consider hitting that subscribe button not as a gesture to a channel, but as your first pledge to yourself. It is a micro-action, a small, tangible step that says, I am ready to begin. We will complete this journey together. Let's begin by being present, right here, on this riverbank of your mind. Close your eyes, if you feel comfortable. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale the cold, crisp air of possibility. And as you exhale, let go of the need to have all the answers. Just for a moment, picture your frozen river. It might be a career change, a creative endeavor, a difficult but necessary conversation, or the simple act of starting a new, healthier habit. The other side is your intention. See it clearly. Now, bring your awareness to your feet, planted firmly on the bank. Feel the hesitation. Feel that pull to stay where it's safe, where it's known. This is the heart of analysis paralysis. It's a state psychologist Barry Schwartz called the paradox of choice. We believe more options and more information will lead to a better decision, but beyond a certain point, they lead to mental gridlock. Your brain, in its attempt to make the perfect choice, becomes so overwhelmed by data, by the pros and cons lists that stretch for miles, that it makes no choice at all. It chooses the deceptive safety of inaction. This inaction is where the real problem begins. When you stand still, your mind starts to justify the stillness. This is a powerful psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance, first proposed by Leon Festinger. It's the profound discomfort we feel when our actions contradict our beliefs. You believe, I want to cross the river. I am capable of crossing. But your action is, I am standing still. The conflict between that belief and that action creates a mental static, an anxiety that is deeply unsettling. To resolve this, the mind often does something remarkable. It changes the belief, not the action. It starts to whisper, maybe I don't really want to cross. Maybe it's not safe. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe preparing on the shore is the real work. And so, you begin to engage in what we call the illusion of preparation. You buy the best gear. You read every book on ice trekking. You chart every possible route. You feel busy. You feel productive, but you are still on the shore. This illusion is a powerful coping mechanism. It protects you from the fear of taking the first step, but it robs you of the journey. I want you to let an image surface in your mind right now. Think of a time you were caught in this loop of endless preparation. What was the project? What was the decision? See it clearly. Now, gently, I want you to ask yourself, what was the feeling underneath the preparation? Was it fear of judgment? Fear of not being good enough? Fear of making a mistake you couldn't undo? Just name it, silently, to yourself. Acknowledging this underlying emotion is not a weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. It is the moment you stop analyzing the ice and start understanding the traveler. The ice itself holds stories. It's not just frozen water. As you look down, you might see reflections trapped within it. The reflection of a past project that didn't go as planned. The reflection of a critical comment from a teacher or a parent years ago. These are the data points your anxious mind uses to build its case for staying put. It tells you, remember last time? Don't risk that again. But this is a biased collection of evidence. Your mind, in its effort to protect you, has become an expert prosecutor against your own potential, while conveniently ignoring all the evidence of your resilience, your past successes, your capacity to learn and adapt. And here, we must touch upon Carl Jung's profound insight again. Sometimes, the reflections in the ice are not even our own. He said, nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their children than the unlived life of the parent. Think about that. The dreams your parents set aside for practicality, the passions they suppressed out of fear. These unlived lives don't simply vanish. They create an invisible atmosphere in a home. A child can absorb these unspoken fears, these cautionary tales, and mistake them for their own internal compass. Your hesitation on the riverbank might be an echo of your father's fear of financial instability, or your mother's regret over a creative path not taken. You are carrying a legacy of caution, a generational paralysis. So let us take another conscious pause together. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, I invite you to ask a gentle but radical question of the fear that holds you here. Whose fear is this, really? Is all of this weight truly mine to carry? Or is some of it a story I inherited? You don't need a grand answer right now. The power is in the questioning. The act of asking begins to create a sliver of space between you and the fear. In that space, a new choice becomes possible. Many people believe the solution to this paralysis is a surge of motivation or a sudden burst of courage. They wait for a day when they wake up and are no longer afraid. That day will never come. Let me say that again. That day, the day of absolute fearlessness, will never come. I used to believe that courage was the absence of fear. That to cross the river, I had to completely eliminate the part of me that was scared. That is a myth that keeps millions of people standing on the shore their entire lives. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in the presence of fear. It is your knees shaking, your heart pounding, and taking one small step anyway. It is acknowledging the what-ifs and choosing to focus on the what is. And what is, right now, is your breath, your body, your capacity to choose your next small action. The antidote to overthinking is not more thinking, it is action. But, and this is the secret, it is not grand, heroic action. It is the micro-action. This is where we shift from understanding the problem to engaging with the solution. Procrastination, at its core, is not a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. We procrastinate on tasks that make us feel bad, bored, insecure, resentful, anxious. The task of crossing the entire river feels enormous and terrifying. So the brain, seeking to avoid that negative feeling, directs you toward a distraction, anything to not feel that discomfort. The micro-action is a psychological cheat code. It is an action so small, so unintimidating that it slips past the brain's fear response. Instead of write the book, the micro action is open the document and write one sentence. Instead of run a marathon, it's put on your running shoes and do 3 squats. Instead of solve my financial problems, it's find one bill and put it on the table. The goal of the micro action is not to complete the task. The goal is to change your psychological state. It is to break the inertia of stillness. Momentum is a law of physics, but it is also a law of the soul. An object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. By taking one tiny, almost laughably small step, you shift from being an object at rest to an object in motion. You generate a tiny spark of self-efficacy. You prove to your anxious mind that action is possible. And this is where we can integrate the wisdom of a thinker like Brené Brown. Her work on vulnerability teaches us that there is no courage without exposing ourselves to the possibility of failure. That first micro step onto the ice is an act of profound vulnerability. It is saying, I don't know if this will work. I don't know if I will succeed. But I am willing to be seen trying. This brings us to the crucial practice of normalizing imperfection. Perfectionism is the engine of analysis paralysis. It's the belief that if we cannot cross the river flawlessly, we shouldn't cross at all. We must let go of this binary thinking of success or failure. The journey across the ice is not a performance to be judged. It is an experiment to be lived. Every step, even a wobbly one, provides data. A slip teaches you about the texture of the ice. A moment of fear teaches you about the depth of your own resilience. The goal is not a perfect crossing. The goal is simply to cross, to move from this bank to that one. We must learn to practice self-compassion, to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend who was scared. If a friend told you they were afraid to take the first step, you wouldn't shout at them to just do it. You would say, I understand. It's scary. What's one small thing we can do together right now? We must become that friend to ourselves. So let's do a micro action together, right here, right now. As you're sitting here, listening, I want you to consciously unclench your jaw. Feel the muscles release. Now, drop your shoulders away from your ears. Let them fall. And now, take one deliberate, slow breath, all the way in and all the way out. You just did something. You moved from unconscious tension to conscious action. You changed your physiological state in a small but meaningful way. That is the muscle we are training today. The muscle of gentle, deliberate, imperfect action. This is the art of the first step. It is not about a great leap of faith. It is about a small shift of weight, a commitment to moving 1 inch forward. You stop staring at the entire river, and you focus only on the square foot of ice directly in front of you. That is manageable. That is possible. Now, let's bring our journey to a new understanding. We have stood on the bank, we have examined the ice, we have acknowledged the fears and the ghosts of the past. We have learned the strategy of the microstep. What is the final realization? What is the aha moment that allows us to move forward not just with a new tactic, but with a new heart? It is this. The river was never the obstacle. It was always the path. Your paralysis came from treating this journey as a problem to be solved, a risk to be eliminated. You believed that life was waiting for you on the other side. But life is not a destination. It is the crossing itself. It is the feeling of the cold air on your face, the sound of the ice under your feet, the rhythm of your own determined breath. The goal was never to find a perfectly safe path. The goal was to find the courage to walk the path that is given. So the key, the great secret, was not something you had to find. It wasn't a hidden map or a magical piece of equipment. It was the realization that you were standing at the door of your own life, analyzing the lock for so long that you forgot you could simply push it open. The illusion of preparation, the paralysis of analysis. They are the habits of a mind that has forgotten its own power to simply begin. Your power is not in knowing the entire journey. Your power is in taking the next step. So let's reframe those what-if questions that have kept you frozen for so long. Instead of, what if I fall? I invite you to ask, with genuine curiosity, what if I learn something extraordinary? What if I find a strength I never knew I possessed? What if this journey, this very crossing, is the most important thing I will ever do? Your work, from this moment forward is not to banish the feeling of fear. It is to change your relationship with it. When that voice of doubt begins to whisper, "It's too risky. You're not ready." Don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Thank it. Say to it, "I hear you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I have a step to take." Your actions today are not to prove to the world that you are worthy. Your actions are a quiet, firm affirmation to yourself that you always were. The micro-action you take today, sending that email, writing that one paragraph, making that phone call, is a vote for the future you. It is a declaration that you choose movement over stillness, experience over theory, and life, in all its imperfect and unpredictable glory, over the sterile safety of the shore. Step out of the abstract and into the real. The pale winter sun is on the horizon. The other side is not a destination you arrive at. It is a direction you choose with every single step. So turn your face toward it. Feel the cold, clean air fill your lungs. The journey is calling. Your work awaits. Your life awaits. And most importantly, you await yourself.